Jake Hobbs is a big part of my life. Many summers being in Stowe with little children, and grateful there was a program run by Jake Hobbs, bringing some Jewish life on the bike path, and really providing an opportunity for our family when, we needed a service, we needed a Kaddish, we needed community, and really, wanted to continue Jewish life on our weekends. And that's something not to be taken for granted. And that is something that was started, by a visionary, Marvin Gamroff, who was this amazing guy who, was a mentor to me. For my wedding, he gave me a frying pan because it didn't need oil. And he was all about wellness. And I really think these figures have added so much flavor to my life and had impact on my life. And I really felt the opportunity for us to connect as women, connect during Sukkot when we're supposed to be joyous, during this very fragile and unstable time, as if Corona wasn't enough. We had to have a holiday about it, of instability, but to remind us about what really matters. Yeah. And I think the friendships really matter. I said it was sort of the ABCs of, the appreciation of having a Jake Hobbs and having community in Stowe and having second homes or opportunities to go visit Vermont. B, the blending of flavors. Everybody sees my maple syrup here, my big maple syrup. My son schlepped for me. But the blending with Tahina, which is my new potion and my present potion that I love to put on everything. So blending these two flavors, as much as the distance, is great, we are still so connected, and food is definitely one of those ways. And C is connecting, and really connecting with one another. I think women are terrific. Women come together, and that's why I specifically run a tour just for women, because I love the multi-generations, I love the sharing, and I appreciate the mentorship for wherever you are in your life, the generosity of spirit. So this was a collaborative effort of many wonderful women, and I thank you for including me in this mix. And today's recipe really is super simple. It doesn't require any cooking. It's a salad. We're in the harvest period of time, which is, the shefa, the abundance, the Hebrew word for abundance. And things are falling off trees here, literally. I have pomegranate. I couldn't not do something without a pomegranate that I'm proud to say this came off my tree. It may be small, but it's mighty. It's full of tons of seeds. And I call them like jewelry. I had 2 of them this year. And I watched them grow from a flower, and I was so grateful that the flowers didn't get blown off. So my first year I got 14. This year I got 2, but grateful I got 2. So I'll be sharing those with you as well, because pomegranates on anything sparks life and sparks color and joy. And I'm a big believer you eat with your eyes. So if something doesn't look good, I don't care how good the recipe is, and I don't care how much, everybody raves about it. If it doesn't look good to me, I'm not gonna eat it. So I'm really a big believer of presentation, and it doesn't have to be fancy, just being, mindful of just a leaf, a sprig, a plate, a napkin, cleanliness, that everything works. So the recipe today we're going to be doing, it was inspired actually from the New York Times, which I love. It's a broccoli salad that's made with maple and tahina dressing. And it's the maple and tahini dressing that's really the magic in this, because you're combining 2 really wonderful, rich flavors and bringing them together. And maple syrup to me is liquid gold. And yes, they do have it here, but I love seeing this in my pantry. It makes me feel a sense of home and familiarity. That's why we schlep things all over the world, because they make us feel comforted. Other things, if you didn't have maple syrup in the house, when you talk about honey in the Bible, they're not talking about bees' honey. They're actually calling something that's called silan, which is a date honey. And this is also, it looks like maple syrup, but it's not maple syrup, but it's a wonderful form of liquid that sweetens recipes, and also gives great caramelization if you're making a chicken recipe, and there's no added sugar to it, which is great. So a lot of options. I'm focusing on maple syrup today, but if you ran out and you have honey from your neighbor, honey's great. And if you have Ceylon from your trip to Israel that you've never pulled out, you can pull that out right now as well. I always love to give options, especially during these times when we're limited to go to the store. Our stores don't necessarily have great stock. And, so I love to give you possibilities because life is all about adapting and dealing. And sometimes we don't have everything, but the greatest recipes come from, disasters and from, when you don't have the right ingredients. So that is the mindset of this salad. The predominant ingredient is a broccoli salad, but if you don't like broccoli, don't make this salad like this. You can use cauliflower, and I've even shown you that sometimes eating raw broccoli is difficult on some people's stomachs, which is totally normal. So I've given you the option that you can also roast cauliflower, and you can also roast broccoli for that matter. You can roast any vegetable, and it makes it more palatable and more easy on your stomach. And this could be something that can be done in advance. This salad is at room temperature. I love roasting off vegetables because it brings great flavor, a totally different flavor than raw. And you can keep them on hand in your fridge for a couple of days, and they're incredibly versatile. So this is your option. If you don't want to use raw broccoli, you can roast the broccoli, or you can even use cauliflower. So the beauty of broccoli is that often when you go to the store, sometimes you just see the florets and you don't even see the stems because they just hack them off, because people often throw them out, which is the biggest waste in the whole world. Because how many people lift their hand and tell me, what is the sweetest part of the broccoli? It's the stem. Exactly. Emily knows. It is the stem of the broccoli. It has all the great flavor, but you do have to peel it because it could be woody on the outside and you don't want to be chewing. That's no fun. So you want to have the crispiness, you want to have the sweetness, but you don't want to have the woodiness of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just literally going to take the florets off, and you want to make sure that you wash this really well because there tends to be, bugs hiding, in lots of crevices. So just make sure that you wash it very, very well. And then you're left with this stalk. So I'm sure you've actually seen in the store, I know in the US, they have broccoli slaw, right? Like it's already cut up for you. But I'm a big believer, like do it yourself, because a lot of those pre-stuff has this kind of funky smell to it. So I try to do as much as possible by myself. So you just want to have, a sharp knife. And if you're not comfortable with something like this, you can also use, I love this peeler. And I think I actually got this at the Kitchen Shop, which is like one of my favorite stores in Stowe, Vermont, which I missed their sale, the best sales ever upstairs. And so what you want to do is just peel it. See how sharp it is? Like you'll never ever fight. You'll want to make your potato latkes on Hanukkah because you have such a good peeler. Invest in good toys in the kitchen, because if you do, I promise you, you'll cook with a smiling face and all that good energy will go into the food. So this is this part you can put in your vegetable stock if you want, because it's clean and it has flavor to it. But remember, your vegetable stock is going to have a very broccoli kind of scent to it. So unless you're making something in that family that can mask it, then don't use it if it's too strong of a smell. And then what you want to do is you see my stem, it's all cleaned up. And whenever you're cutting, first of all, I'm just going to cut the end off because that's not so pretty. You always want to try to get the flat side of something. And because you don't want to be cutting and rolling, because then you're going to cut yourself. And you're also going to cut yourself, so I don't point my knife, you're going to cut yourself if your knives are dull. So don't be afraid of having a sharp knife. Always have your knives sharpened, because that will avoid you pushing and then sliding, and that's when you cut your finger. You always want to try to keep your blades sharpened, and Corona is a perfect time for an indoor activity and get a sharpening stone for $5 and just slide your knives on and do the whole families, and it's a great thing to do, and you feel like you've entered a new kitchen when you have a sharp knife. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slice my pieces into, everybody can see, I don't have an overhead mirror here. And then again, always trying to find the flat side. and I'm just trying to get matchsticks, okay? So I'm gonna have a variety of textures. I'm gonna have the florets, and I'm also gonna have some sticks, little shredded sticks, not very big, not like a crudité, because you want to be able to pull it up in every single spoonful. And that's the most important thing when you are cutting. You always want to think about what the other shapes in the dish are, because you don't want anything to be left at the bottom. This is all about combining, and this is what this show is all about, combining this opportunity of combining all great people and elements of Stowe with Montreal and any other places that everybody else are from, and of course Israel. So so you want to think about that with your vegetables, and make sure that you cut them so they all blend with one another. Like this would be way too big for a mouthful, so you just want to make sure that you go through and cut so everything is bite-sized, because you know it's so awkward when you're eating and you have a huge piece of lettuce and you just don't know what to do with it. Do you pull up a knife? Do you not? So just take an extra second. It's not important exactly the measurement, just around the size-wise. So we have a mixture of different vegetables here. And again, if you want, and you don't want to use, say you don't want to use this part and you want to reserve it, just wrap it up in plastic wrap and keep it in your fridge, and you can use it at a later time as well. It's really great just chopped up and throw it into a minestrone soup as well. That's fantastic too. So this could be too broccoli heavy for you, but really it's all about the sauce for this recipe, okay? So the salad is a mixture. Then we're going to be adding green onions. Green onions are also called scallions, and often people think that you can't use these gorgeous green parts. You can use the whole thing. And in Asian cooking, they often use the white part for sautéing and the green part for garnishing. I use the whole thing in the salad. I think it's fabulous, especially if you love the flavor of green onion. I love this also in my chicken soup. Right at the end, you put green onion in, and it just gives a beautiful aura to it. And again, green makes people want to eat. It's something from the earth. It's something that connects us to our surroundings. So it's not like putting something blue in your food. It's something very natural, and so it makes things, you know, appetizing. So I'm basically cutting. You can take scissors if you want, you can cut it, or I'm just grouping them up, and I'm cutting them just into little circles. And if you find that the onion is a little too oniony, like you find yourself crying over it, they just came out of the earth. Everything here in Israel, you should know, is all local, which like blows me away. You know, being a Canadian girl, what's local? You know, blueberries and strawberries, and, you know, for a month, 2 months, but to be living in the tiniest little country that is growing in all different areas of the country, all such a variety of fruits and vegetables, it continues to blow me away. So I've added the green onions, and again, I love the different shades of green, you know, playing on each other. And the other, if anybody has questions, you can write them in the chat box as well. Okay, guys, this is totally live. It's you know, I'm just trying to impart some little bit of some techniques, but would love to hear from you as well. So we're going to make the dressing, and the dressing is the magic, right? So we're going to be using, I don't know, my brother said to me, why would you add maple syrup to this? Aren't they so sick of maple syrup? I'm like, no, it's something you never get sick of. But I want to introduce you one of my favorite, and it does not replace maple syrup, but it's tahini. And tahini is sesame paste. It's just made up of ground sesames, okay? Sesame seeds. And sesame seeds, all, like the greatest source of sesame seeds is Ethiopia, believe it or not. And have any of you been to Machane Yehuda, where you've seen in the market in Jerusalem, where you see that the tahini is actually made through volcanic rock? So what they do is they pulverize the sesame seeds. That's all. There's nothing else added. And they're full of delicious oils. So it is a fat, but it's a really good fat. And it adds tremendous flavor, and it can be appreciated both savory and sweet, which is great. So it's one of those versatile ingredients that you can use all-purposely in your kitchen. So you're noticing I keep shaking it. It's not for my exercise. Believe me, I need to do way more exercise than this. But you always, always, always want to, do I prefer roasted or raw tahina? I've been playing around with the tahinas, and this, I'm not even sure if this is roasted or not. I don't think it is. This is my favorite brand here in Israel. But I know brands I don't like, but because I don't speak the Hebrew as well, I'm not sure. Maybe I don't like it because maybe it's too bitter. Sometimes they're too bitter. Sometimes this one's a nice smoky flavor to it, which is really nice. But like anything, there's different varieties where it's made, and but I know there's great tahinis available in the US and in Canada. But the most important, you do not need to refrigerate it, okay? And it's like fresh peanut butter that it has like oil, like it separates. That's why I'm doing this, okay? Here we go. What about black tahini? I happen to have a large jar. I've never tried black tahini, and I would love to hear all about that. So, brand new sticker. Shauna's going to open that up. And
Shauna, I'd like to mention that anybody who's local, we're in Morrisville, Vermont, who wants some tahina, we have this much. We use
wow, you have a ton.
So you can see our enormous tub.
Holy Moses.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's a cup of that. Fantastic.
So anybody who's looking for some, I'm happy to give a mason jar full away.
Okay, now that is community, really. Okay, so I'm putting the tahini into a cup, and it is beautiful and really like milky. It's not sticky at all. It's wonderfully fluid, and it has this beautiful, it smells like peanut butter. That's really what it smells like. And it looks like this. And it's wonderful just eating like this. The Israelis, instead of peanut butter and jam, they put tahina and jam on their toast, and it's really, really delicious. But like anything, it takes getting used to. The next thing we're going to be adding is some limes, which actually came from my friend David's tree. So that's really nice. The lime, whenever you're dealing with any citrus and you're juicing it, usually keep them in the fridge because they last longer. Or if you're having guests over, remember that when that used to happen? You used to put a bowl of like lemons in a basket, like as the fancy, like quick centerpiece. But if you want to keep them for longer, keep them in the fridge. And to literally get the juices rolling, you just roll it on the counter, and that literally loosens everything up. Or you could be on the phone and just squeeze. It's actually a good exercise. So what you want to do is cut it open. Always take a smell of a lime, because that, I don't know where that transports you. I think I'm in Mexico when I smell a lime. That just transports me to other places. So you can use one of these. Has everybody seen one of these guys? It is literally, you push it in, it's so easy, and it captures all of the seeds, which is really, really wonderful. Like smelling the etrog. Yes, I have to find my etrog. That's a good thing. And maybe in the sukkah. Another one, if you don't have this fancy gizmo, what you can do is take your lime, take your simple fork from your kitchen, and literally get the juices rolling. You see how much is coming out? It really, and believe me, if you just go like this, you're never going to get it all out. But if you take a fork and you really pry it out, you'll get it, and you may even get a pick. So that's why you have the fork, and you just dig it out and wear your glasses like I am, because I can't see anything anymore. So then we put the lime, and wow, it looks fabulous. And the next thing we're going to be adding is 1/4 cup of toasted sesame oil. And toasted is the operative word, because toasted sesame oil is, see, it's dark. I don't have very much left. It's toasted, and it has this wonderful, wow, sesame flavor. And you don't need to use a lot of it. Which is great if you're watching the fat in your cooking, low fat cooking and baking. Use a lot of toasted sesame oil because you don't need a lot of it. Where if you just had a flavorless oil, you would need a lot more of it, but you're not getting any bang for your buck. So I'd rather you use really good ingredients that have strong flavor, but use less of them. And that's the principle of toasted sesame oil. So it's not interchangeable with regular sesame oil, because you're just not going to get that same sesame flavor. So I told you tahini is full of sesame seeds. This is just going to punch it out even more. So I'm going to put the toasted sesame oil in as well. And then we're going to be adding some tamari. Tamari is a natural soy sauce, salty, right? And that's also going to balance out the flavor with, we have acid in here. And then remember, we haven't forgotten our maple syrup. So what happens when you mix tahina with liquid? What would you think would happen if you add liquid to liquid? Liquid, right? Like, it's not magic. But what happens with tahina is the total opposite. What happens is that it gets like this and it turns into sludge. And then you kind of say to me, this recipe is not working. This is not a dressing. This is too thick. But that is a very normal thing about tahina, is that first it goes to like thick, thick, thick. It seizes, and then you loosen it up again with more liquid, okay? So most people freak out, and that's why I thought it was very important to show it to you. Like, look, it's starting to break apart. And it's the opposite, because I haven't added anything solid into here, so it shouldn't happen. So it's starting to break apart. So now I'm going to be adding my maple syrup. That's my liquid gold, right? And it doesn't matter if you're using grade A or grade B. That's totally your call. I know everybody has lots of preferences for that. I have to, before I forget, my garlic. Everybody knows this is a bulb of garlic, and we're going to be using a clove of garlic. And a clove of garlic is just one of these guys. So very important. Don't keep this in the fridge. Keep this in like someone made you ever a ceramic bowl with keep the lid out so it could breathe. Sometimes you'll see green shoots coming out of your garlic. That doesn't mean it's bad. It's just changed temperatures. So just cut off the green and just remove it and use it. It'll be totally fine. So here's my garlic clove, and it's really kind of big. So if you don't like a lot of garlic, then don't feel that you need to use a lot of garlic. If you don't like it at all, just omit it. Nothing bad will happen. So the best way to get, a lot of people complain like the paper gets into your nails and then it burns and then I smell like garlic for the week, and we're all living really close to each other. So what you want to do is just take your garlic and bang it. That's called bruising your garlic. And that's literally, you know, it relieves a lot of aggression. You can do a whole whack of garlic and just keep chopping them all day. Here's our garlic, but that way you see that it doesn't, there's no digging, there's no discomfort, and you don't need another gizmo to take off the garlic. I know everybody wants to try to sell you something, but you really don't need it. And so I'm just chopping the garlic. Oh, I actually don't need to chop the garlic. You could chop the garlic, or I was going to put it right through here, my garlic press, because I want it to be nice and fine. So here's the garlic press, and this way you get really, really small pieces. Okay, so I'm mixing this up, and it's going to come together. There we go. And this sauce can be used on anything. I think that you could just grilled chicken, fish, anything. This sauce is the magic of everything, and you can keep it in your fridge for 2-3 days, and you will love it. So this is what it looks like, and it's got such fantastic flavor to it. So I'm just going to clean up my little bit of a mess here. So what I have here is I have the broccoli, I have the green onions, and I also have to add some peanuts. And I'm using peanuts that are roasted, and the fastest way to chop them. Never ever buy your nuts chopped, because they're lesser quality, because you're getting the bottom of the bin, and they go rancid much faster. So because there's more surface area showing, so they'll go bad faster. So always buy them whole, and if you bought too many, stick them in the freezer. I keep all my nuts in the freezer, and put them in one of your Ziploc bags, and just I have a pounder, and just pound them. If you pounded too many, throw them into the freezer. My freezer holds a lot. My kids call the freezer La La Land. They don't know whatever comes out of there, but I am a big believer. I hate waste, and I love thinking of my freezer as part of my pantry, because it makes cooking that much more enjoyable. And roasted nuts, it adds so much dimension to your cooking, and also protein, especially if you're a vegetarian. And this is a great vegan dish, by the way. So I'm going to take some of the peanuts, and peanuts best part of the pad thai are the peanuts, right? Like the crunchy, and I love the flavor of it. And so this is what it looks like. And then what you want to do is you want to drizzle your dressing, and then you can mix it if you want to. as well. It's up to you. You can toss it all together. And if it's a little too thick, you can just dilute like this with a tiny bit of water and just loosen it up if you want it to be looser. That's it. It won't seize up again on you, okay? So chopped up almonds. You can use chopped up almonds if you're peanut sensitive. And then I had some herbs from the garden. And thankfully they're still growing. And this is how I often like to keep my herbs, like this. And do you remember the days when you used to travel and you used to get one of these from a hotel? The shower caps, right? No, I'm not putting it on me. It would be a little too late. But if you ever have your herbs, keep them in your fridge like this. And if you see them, you're going to use them. If they're in the bottom of your drawer, I promise you're never going to remember that they're there. Okay? So I love the shower cap because it keeps them nice and fresh. It has the integrity of keeping it like a plant. And so what I'm going to be adding in, and again, these are all washed and dried because you don't want to be adding wet herbs to your salad. It's not nice. This is spearmint. I'm going to be just tearing it up with my fingers so it doesn't turn black, because you know when you cut herbs with a knife, what happens is it reacts with the knife, the stainless steel, and it oxidizes. And then you have black little shreds, and it has the total opposite effect that you want to have. You want to feel like you just ate something from the garden. So if you don't like mint, you can use cilantro. There's no cilantro in my house because my kids hate it. But you can use parsley, you can use dill, like really have fun with it. And you know, you can use a variety of them as well. So that is the salad. That is the tahini. You know that you can always keep it in your pantry. It doesn't need to be put in the fridge. Maple syrup, blessed to have this container. And Allison has offered anybody who's short of tahini in the Vermont area, she's got gallons of it to share. So it's BYO mason jar to Allison's. And I wish you guys a chag sameach. I am so grateful to have had this time with you. I hope to see you here in Israel in my kitchen. You're always welcome here, and I can't wait to be on your side in Stowe, Vermont. So thank you. There we go. So Emily,
Thanks, Shauna.
Thank you, Shauna. That was amazing.
Oh my God, I
Thank
just
you.
forgot one thing, Emily. One thing.
Pomegranate.
Pomegranates. So
Oh,
you can just sprinkle the pomegranates on top. Sorry, but it's all about the garnish. Everybody see? There you go.
Shauna, question. Does
Yeah.
every pomegranate have the full amount of seeds, even if it's a small one?
You know, it's interesting, Jewel. I counted with my son. We had 608. I know you're supposed to have 613.